Hello. Welcome to ye old ROM hacking stream. I'm your pal Slowbeef. You know the drill. What do we want to learn tonight? Or what do we want to do? Well, where would we leave off? We got the extractor going, right? Yeah. So this is... It looks pretty good, honestly. Japanese exporting looks Japanesey. Graphics. Yeah, let's talk about something interesting for a little bit. We're not really at the graphics phase per se, but I am glad. I am glad that we are going to get the opportunity to talk about graphics, because I'm going to tell you something about Dead of the Brain. Dead of the Brain has nudity in it, we found out, because Drastic Actions went ahead and wrote a graphics extractor. And the thing about it is that I'm not going to be able to stream that, I guess. Some of it is... there's nothing explicit, you know, it's pretty much boobs. Some body horror stuff, a lot of fan servicey stuff, you know. But I am going to want to extract and edit that for stream purposes. I don't intend to censor the finished product or anything like that. But how do we do graphics in general is the question. And we won't know how Dead of the Brain does graphics until we, like, hack in or whatever. But let's just talk about, in general, how it works. You probably know pixels are generated in RGB format, which is red, green, blue. And odds are you're probably a little familiar with the following type of thing in HTML, which is hexadecimal red, of course, right? The idea being, of course, we break up the red, green, blue components into bytes. And there's hex 0 to 256 for red, for green, and blue. Let's see here. Anyone care why it's RGB and not RYB? Or just... Let's see. Nobody cares about that. We can just go right into it. There are a few ways, of course, to... Alright, so the question I posed to chat was, does anybody care why it's RGB and not RYB? It's not because it's how our eyes... Well, it's not exactly because it's how our eyes work, per se. But the notion is, you've probably heard the primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. So why do computers use green? Well, what the fuck is a primary color anyway, is the question. And the thing is that people chose red, yellow, blue just way back when because they felt like those were the basic base colors, and you could just make any other color by combining red, yellow, blue. And that's not quite right, because if you look at pixels, like electrons of light striking, you know, I'm totally blanking on the word. The thing in your pixels, filaments? Anyway, you can make yellow with green and blue, but then you can also make green with yellow and blue, right? So how the fuck does that work? And the reason is because there's a thing called additive colors and subtractive colors. And the idea is, let's take a red light and a blue light. If you were to shine them very close together, you'd get a bright purple. And as you add more colors into that, they'll eventually come up and make white. Did I say electrons of light? I did say that, which is not correct, but sorry about that. I was thinking about the electron gun in a cathode ray tube monitor, which is the whole pixel thing. So, what was I saying? All right. So anyway, red, green, and blue end up being component colors in additive color spaces, meaning that when you add more colors, it goes to white. But if you take ink works kind of the opposite, where, like, if you combine a red ink and a blue ink, you get a dark purple. And as you add more and more colors, it'll go darker to brown and eventually to black. So the idea is that in that case of ink, red, yellow, and blue make more sense as primary color. Paint gets very complicated because it depends on the kind of paint and the chemical composition and everything like that. But the point I'm getting at is, in monitors and computer graphics, we always use pixels, so we always start from black to white, so our color space is RGB, or red, green, blue. And that's right, JS Blue 3. That's why printers use CMYK, CMY being the opposite, more or less, of red, green, blue. We just invert the color values to draw. And we use black just because using black ink's less expensive than just using all the ink combined to make black. One interesting-ish note, if you look at the visible color space, red, green, blue gets divided up something like this, meaning that there's some color space in the blue section that the human eye actually can't distinguish for the most part. I mean that statistically, like, of course there are some people who see better than others, etc. But most everyone can't see some of the blues in the RGB color space. There's a French color space called CUE, which lies entirely within the visible spectrum for most people, but it's a lot harder to work with, so everyone just sticks with RGB. Great. Awesome. How do we draw with it? And obviously that depends on the hardware, but the trick is, how the hell do we want to... well, how do we want to draw? So let's say our artist comes up to us and says, you know what I want? All I want is an 8x8 image on screen, like a sprite, let's say. Something overlaid. 8x8, black background, white square, dead center. I can't really draw very well on this, so I hope you can use your imagination for it, but I'll tell you what. We'll just pretend this is square. And we'll pretend our artist asked for red instead. So the point I'm getting at is... Oof. I should really just get Photoshop on this computer or something. The point is, though, we want like a filled-in square like that, right? So the easiest way we could do it, theoretically, is... Because all we have are bits and bytes in the computer. We could use bits. And we could say, all right, let's make an 8x8 graphic. That's 8, yep. Yeah, alright. Try to insert. Now, this is our black background. We'll have 0 as black. Why not? Because we're making our own color space to store it here. And we'll put the center as white. And just to remind everybody at home watching, I hope you can read this, by the way. 0 is black, 1 is white. And you can kind of see here how this would make a black background with a white square inside, I hope, anyway, right? Of course, that's great, but what happens when our artist wants... How about... Give me a light gray drop shadow on that. Well, we don't have that, of course. We're doing binary, so... We'll give that a 1, 0. And since I'm already now using 2 bits for each color... I'll just spread this out a little. Is this clear what I'm doing, by the way? Like, I'm just trying to explain, like, different ways to store it. Let me know if this is weird or I'm not explaining myself very well. Hold on a sec. Make my life a little easier here. So you can see this would be that same thing, only now with 2 bits pixel. And our artist wanted a little drop shadow, so we'll say that this is that drop shadow. I'm gonna ask you to use your imagination a bit. It doesn't really matter. Oh, but wait. Our artist is like, fuck it. I want full color spectrum, same as HTML. Okay, artist. I'll give it to you in HTML color. Like this. Let's start again. So... Oh, wait. HTML color is 16-bit color. Or 8-bit, yeah, it's 8-bit per component. So this is the red, green, blue value of 1 pixel. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, I think you get the idea, though. This is 8-bit, 24-bit color. Alright, you get the idea. I don't have to type all that out. The point is, there's a pretty simple equation for how much space we're going to need for this whole thing. And it is W times H times BPP, which is the width in pixels of your image times the height in pixels times the bits per pixel. So if you wanted full that full 24-bit color space from 00 to FF, that's 255 times 255 times 255, which is what is that? 2 to the power of 8. 2 to the power of 24, which is a pretty fucking big number. So that's going to be a huge fucking image, even just for an 8x8 graphic or whatever. What's the difference between YUV and RGB? What is YUV? Is that the value one? Like, hue saturation value? That's HSV, right? I'd have to look that up, honestly. Alright, at any rate. So, that's all great, but we were talking about that. Alright, so I'm not going to write out all these pixels, so we'll go back to where we were. So, for now, before our artist asks for that, we're going to talk a little more about that. We'll go back to our original black and white box. Okay, here's our 8x8 box, black outside, white inside. So, how do you really compress this any better than we had? One thing we could say is, like, look, I'm doing a lot of stuff like this, so what if instead I said, rather than 0, like 1 bit per pixel, like 1 bit that maps to a pixel, hence bitmap, by the way, or 2 bits even that map to a pixel, or 8 or 24 or whatever, I do this. I say, I know I want 8 pixels to look like that, so maybe I'll do that. And the first byte I use tells me how many zeros to draw in that row of pixels. I'll do it like that. Then I'll say 20, 41, 20. Now, this looks a little confusing, probably. But if I were to like mark it up just for easy readability, I'd say I want 8 pixels of 0, followed by 8 pixels of 0, followed by 2 pixels of 0, 4 pixels of 1, and then 2 more pixels of 0. And I just say that. Stop doing that. Now, if you see, I actually have the same information in all 3 of the, well, all 2 of these formats, really, right? So, and the idea is that this is actually a lossless way of, quote-unquote, compressing this data. And the idea is it's called run length encoding, or RLE. A lot of video games use this. You probably are going to run into this in a ROM hacking thing somewhere. Run length encoding says just like encode a run of pixels like this. You could even say if we had some metadata up top to tell us this was an 8x8 graphic, I could even say then give me 18 pixels of 0, because that would cover this row, and then these 2 zeros, right? 4 pixels of 1, 4 pixels of 0, etc. Now that's great. The only other issue, though, I had is, like I said, maybe my artist wants me to draw in, like, 24-bit color space. But if I look at it, maybe he's using she's using 64 colors maximum. Just say hypothetically, right? An old Sega CD game, for example, has a 64-bit color max, although the people behind Snatcher hacked it so it could do 128, which is an odd thing I never understood. But what we could do is maybe we could also do, like, a color by numbers thing with our bits. We could say... getting a little all over the place tonight. I'm a little tired. So we'll say this is black, right? And if our artist wants, I don't know, some funky color for the center square. Like that, and maybe for a lighter gray they want that, or whatever. So rather than encoding this whole byte here, what I could do is I could have some table or something that says, you know what? These bytes aren't directly color values. They just map to some lookup table I have here. It's called an LUT. This is called paletted graphics. And what you do is then you have your... it's basically color by numbers. You have your sprites, or your drawing, kind of... When you go to paint it, basically, you say, all right, instead of drawing like black when I hit 0, 0, I'll look up what color black is, or what 0, 0 is. I'll draw that pixel instead. And that's paletted graphics. You can, of course, combine paletted with run length encoding and get all sorts of stuff like that. So, I think GIF uses paletted graphic, actually. This is run length encoding. The one problem with it is if somebody asks you to do a checkerboard pattern like that, and let's just say these 8 pixels right here, this first row of a checkerboard pattern, you're going to say, draw me one row of a 0, one row of a 1, one run of a 0, one run of a 1, etc. And it ends up being twice as large as it needed to be, even if you had left it uncompressed, because the metadata that tells you how long each run is taking up space too. So in that case, that run doesn't buy you very much. I talked about this once in the Police Knots ROMHack thread, and somebody mentioned, well, why don't you have a run length encoding that uses 2 pixels at a time? And I'm like, that works great for like a checkerboard, but then what if I had one that was like this? And the point is that you can come up with all sorts of wacky algorithms for how to store pixels in the smallest amount of space possible, but there's never a perfect solution, because at the end of the day, an artist, of course, is telling you, like, this is what I drew, help me out. And you're going to say, oh, okay, well, I don't know if you can see this, but there's like a big run of black along the top here. There's some checkerboard here, because there's a lot of dithering in Dead of the Brain. But there is a lot of space here and here, you know? And when you see, like, a lot of solid colors grouped together like that, like you do with old games, that's a fairly good use case of run length encoding. I don't know if Dead of the Brain uses that or not. Drastic Actions does. He did it. But that's the idea. What we're going to be doing eventually is looking in memory and things like that and trying to figure out how it draws. The reason I said electrons, by the way, before when I meant photons, is because back in the day, you had a thing called a cathode ray tube monitor, or a CRT, and you'd have a thing called an electron gun, this is exactly what it looked like, that would fire electrons up, and you had this other thing called a deflector plate. And the deflector plate would move back and forth very rapidly, and basically electrons would hit it, it would deflect them onto the screen, they'd hit filaments in pixels on your monitor, and they would light up depending on what they hit. So that was more or less how you make pixels glow on a monitor. Actually, I wonder if I can find it real quick. Another thing you can do, by the way, instead of having your cathode ray tube draw across, like sweeping scan lining, more or less. Asteroids. Wonder if I can find it. There's your plug, oh god. One thing that's interesting about yeah. You're going to notice this is only true of really these old vertex-shaped games, is you see the shot from the ship, how it glows? What's happening here is the electron gun is actually not sweeping across every single pixel like it is, like it does in modern video games. It's actually directly trying to draw all these shapes in frames or whatever. And the idea is, when you devote more and more electrons toward the pixels around the shot, you can actually get it to glow really bright. I don't know how this is going to look exactly on your monitor, say, but if you actually play Asteroids, like, it's a pretty pronounced effect. You can see, like, the pixels are so bright, they're kind of making the glass around it halo and stuff. It's actually a really cool effect. Vectors, right? Am I saying vectors? Did I not say vectors? Oh, vertex, I said. I did mean vectors. I'm sorry. Anyway, so like I said, one day we're going to be looking into Dead of the Brain's graphics and stuff, but I just wanted that little kind of thing in there. Voxels? No way I said voxels. I hope I didn't say voxels. That's very wrong. By the way, I should have mentioned tonight we were listening to Arranged Hider tracks. Anyway. Of course, the thing you want to do once you've written a text extractor, just to switch gears now. Get rid of this. Once you've done that, is you want to write a reinserter. Why do I have this up there? And a reinserter is fairly easy. I mean, it's going to work like the extractor. The trick is that we're going to want to take this open1mes file, right? And we have a lot of crap we don't care about, per se. And we know our... Yeah, right here. I think this is where it starts. This is where our text starts, we know from all our other ROMHack sessions. And then you can tell how when you start to ROMHack and shit, how, like, I didn't do a search there. I just kind of saw the BA23 and I remembered the AA28OE before it and all that stuff. You really start to, when you dig into this shit, you start remembering all the hex values and stuff. But the point is, I want to make this open1mes file and I want to put English in there. And how do I do it? And the easiest way is to really Frankenstein it, meaning take the block you don't care about, plug that into a new output file, start writing your English and stuff, and then anything in the middle that, like, is important to the game logic, you just print that as is, but then you take the Japanese and just replace it with your English. You don't want to really do any sort of hex find replace, per se, just because it's hard to do that. I really personally like to remake the files myself from scratch. And I call it Frankensteining just because you're taking big chunks of the original file and then plugging in your new stuff right in the middle of it. You're going to notice a couple problems with Dead of the Brain when we do that, though. So let's see why. Where is that file that... There it is. Okay, so here's what we'll do. Edit disk. Alright, so we're going to take our Dead of the Brain file, right? Actually, no, we're not. Sorry about that. We are going to... We're going to put... Drastic Actions already done the reinserter for us. I mean, we'll write... Excuse me, we'll write one at one point. But I'm going to show you a couple issues that it has. Okay? If you're all cool with that. So, Drastic's using Shift.js English for his file. And he's taking his English. Alright. And the biggest thing you're going to see that's quote-unquote wrong with it back to the game music for a minute, is, of course, it is a fixed width font, which means it's very wide. And the sound effects, if you listen, it's a pretty slow text speed because it's, I don't know, it's drawing white space, which makes it like sound like it's typing a lot faster than it is. Certain punctuation is not available in that space. We'd have to find it somewhere else, like apostrophes. The original line I wrote, I think, was, "I just don't get it." It's ugly. The reason a lot of these Japanese games have fixed width font is because Japanese tends to run pretty wide. This is like 16 by 16 that I blew up like 4x so you could see it. And we've got another problem. We could, of course, work on variable width font. But the interesting thing is, if you notice, there's blitting text, meaning it appears one character at a time. There's different ways to do that, of course. The game could be doing that. I don't hear the game, someone's saying. Sorry. Here, I'll do that one more time. It looks okay when the word is printing. It just seems like it takes a while to get anywhere once white space comes in. At any rate, it's not bad looking, but we're going to run into some problems. Like, what do we do when we go above the 90 character limit that this dialog box? If you want to know, if you want me to spoil it for you, the brain will start drawing the 91st character over the characters here, so it kind of resets. So one thing the game could be doing, of course, is it could just be holding a cursor here that says draw from this pixel location. Then just draw one character. Okay, now draw two, and the refresh, then 3, then 4. Or, of course, it could be drawing 1, advancing the cursor here, drawing 2, advancing the cursor here, drawing the third, etc., etc. To make a variable with font, we'd actually need to know how wide each and every character in the font is. Oh, I'm sorry. Little Japanese doesn't use spaces between the words. Maybe that's why it delays. You're absolutely right. It's a visual trick. The Japanese isn't printing any faster. It just looks like it is because there's no spaces or anything. At any rate, to do a variable with font, we would have to, if it's doing that cursor advancing thing, the second method, what we'd have to do is figure out how to reset the cursor. Right now, it's going to be jumping ahead a static 16 to the next character to draw with. So we could maybe say, instead of 16, only jump ahead 4 for this character, 8 for that character, whatever. And we'd figure it out that way. The other thing is, though, if it's doing the thing where it's, like, just keeping the cursor here and then drawing 1 character, then 2 characters, then 3 characters, then 4 characters, etc., we're kind of boned. And then we'd kind of have to get into redrawing the text routine ourselves. We've got another big issue, though. We don't have a font file in Dead of the Brain. It turns out this is actually using the PC98 system font, which means if we want variable with font and it's really just using a system call, we honestly have to change the emulator, which is something we don't want to do in a ROMHack. So that sucks, huh? It does. It does. How do we fix this? I mean, there's tons of ways to fix it, of course. We could tell it. We could just redo the text drawing routines ourselves and all that. But I want to show you something I found. Maybe Jurassic found it too, I don't know. And it's right about here. See all this? That's a different font. So, hold on a minute. Let's reset emulation again. Save 0 maybe. Let's save it. Here. Let's go back to our hex editor. Let's go back to our music too. Ollie, can you change the system call to a function call? Sure. Aha, Runch has it. Isn't that half print on the title? It is. And I want it. I want it really, really bad. In fact, let's skip ahead a minute. While I was looking, I'll just show you. Through the MES files. See it? Nightmare Collection Dead of the Brain. That is ASCII, also. Not any funky character encoding like that game had. So let's just go here for a minute. Alright, can't find it yet. Let's see if it worked here. Oh wait, I'm opening the wrong thing, aren't I? All right. Whatever. The point is, I know this is writing in fucking ASCII. I want it. I want to teach the game to write that for me. It'll buy me so fucking much. I want it so bad. And the question is, how the hell can we get it? Runt says, seems like you need to find a control code and swap it. Let's hope, but the problem is, if the gameplay sections are using different control codes and such, then it won't work. But this MES file, I mean, it's got a 20 and a 20 in front of it, right? And there's a 21 here that's an exclamation point that doesn't appear. So these are... 20 is ASCII space, I think, right? AA223... Hold on a minute. Alright. Let's go back to a... let's do our thing where we... Whoops. So let's see. Let's try it. So let's save state. Oops, the wrong thing. Alright, so what's the hex we were looking for here? We want BA23, right? There it is. Yep. Okay. BA23 starts a dialog box. BA280E, we know, are the two ellipses from the beginning of the game. Oh, shit. One sec, sorry. Disks. To the original game. Can we get this fucking ASCII? Oops. Okay, good. I fucked up the graphics a little. That's why it's not drawing. Sorry. Okay, so this is the first one. So if we look at this 000, right? And we look at the word for the word nightmare. I cheated a little. It's here. Alright. This is pretended by A8280F, AA23. Oh, control Cody, right? AA280E. Right? This is AA238828OF. Alright, so let's fuck with it. Well, wait, let's just first make sure I can do this. So, alright. 0E is, we know, one of the ellipses. So if I change that, reload it in my save state. It didn't change. Why didn't it change? You should have changed to a period. Too late in the save state for it? We shouldn't be. Well, let me just try something real quick just to make sure I'm not crazy. Alright. BA26 is the end of the first dialog box. It's still a comma. Everything looks the same. Shit. Why is that? Reload. You didn't reload. Oops. Oh, I forget to save the file? That would do it. Let me just see here. No, still. Let me just close my save state files just to make sure here. Yeah, 12:48 a.m. That's the right one. There it is. Thank you, God. So yeah, I changed one of the ellipses here, you can see. By fucking with the hex. So AA280E. What does that mean? What are we hoping happens? So we're hoping the control code for this is what? AA23 23. Then A828OF. 828OF. Or wait, whoa. Are you inserting? 3. A828OF. Make this one. I doubt this will work, but fuck it. Nothing ventured, right? It's not quite what I expected. Let's copy a little more. Hope we just get it. I don't think this is going to work, but A5, A5, A5 starts writing. A5, 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 21. Alright, what are the odds of this just working? We're on to something. We're on to something. Alright, let's change it back for a minute. Alright, AA280A. AA23. We'll just play around a bit. Okay, let's just change that to 23 for now. Huh! Alright, AA23 looks like it reset the game. If it works, yeah, it means I can just print ASCII. That would solve a lot of my issues, honestly. So 28 reloads the game, right? Yeah. Alright, so... Alright, look, up here, see that? On the right side, it's B, it's a B:, DOBE sound effect type of thing. It's a quote, and here's 22 years of space. Let's do a bunch of stuff. Start printing here. Or no, start printing here, really. Right here. Couple of spaces. What does A5 do? A5, A5, A5. Let's just see what it does. Just curious. If anything, really. Whoops, no, that's not right. Alright, A5 does something weird. Just want to put some hiragana after it. What does A5 do? It's almost like it... Oh, line break. Oh, okay. Okay. We're on to something. Line break, exclamation point. 28 OF? Is that a thing? A5's not a carriage return in ASCII, though. That might have been a carriage return Nightmare Collection, right? And if I remember the intro, which is spaces, then Dead of the Brain. 5. Alright. Let's try 0F by itself. No, that would be... I don't know what that would be. Yeah, that's just hex or hiragana. 280F. Now it's got to be AA280F. I'm noticing a very interesting AA280E over there. Am I reading that right? This was A828OF. Looks like a big do nothing, but wonder if hit a BA, which is a different control code. No. Get you yet. What happens if I do this? Alright, so BA23 is absolutely the name tag. We knew that before. Something before already told it to start drawing, writing in the full width font. Alright, so let's mess with some bytes. We'll just change that 0D to a 0E to a 0D and see what happens. Why the hell not? This isn't right. These are all green? Oh, whoops. Stop. Try A8 here, see what happens. Nothing? Refuse to believe it's nothing. AA23. Crashed it. I want to get smarter and actually look at the Wait a minute. Let me do this another way. another good game soundtrack. Okay. There it is. Okay, good. I really want that. I want that font. Okay. AA280E. Oops. Curious what happens here. Huh. Ay. Why does everything change a goddamn background color? Okay, or text color, text color. Well, if that's the font color, it would stand to reason that this, like 28, is a font size of some kind, right? I mean... $28 here. 28 here. Maybe it's just this A is the font size. I'll just change it to A9. It'll magically get bigger. Or use a different encoding. Oh, wait. Whoa, what's this? How did I get it to do that? This is Marshall data. Let's try AA. Whoops, hey. This is not a system function. Wait, I'm saying it's not a system function. I mean, I don't know. It could be. No, it wouldn't be x86, just in. It couldn't be compiled code, right? Not in there, no. That would be somewhere else. It'd be like an exe or something. This is just data I'm fucking with. Alright, look. This is the text color, right? This is like text speed or something weird. What is this? Hold on, stop. All right, let me look at the AA23 before it. I feel like I'm minting with print modes here. This AA28OE is everywhere. Not everywhere, but it's in a couple of places. I'm looking at the wrong fucking file. PA23 tells us to open a dialog box, right? What if I did this? Nothing. Surprisingly nothing. Or unless it... Hold on. No. Didn't change it at all. At least not that I could say. It's made it a yellow, right? What did this do? Idiot, I'm doing the wrong file. This made it a different color. So let's just fuck around with it totally. What is it gonna be, like red now, or? Oh, good guess. Alright, this is text color, right? What was this one again? This was like the speed of it. Like if I change that to 27, it typed in really slow. Or not. How'd that make it green? Am I wrong? Is this actually the RGB value? It can't be. No, it can't be. 280F is white, which is no RGB value I've ever heard, unless we're decomposing the bytes. Yeah, alright, hold on a minute. Alright, hold on a sec here. 28 0 F. I don't really see anything here unless... Yeah, Alto Youth, I'm thinking you might be right. So, like, if I change that to C, 280C, that would be 0-0ing these, so... See what it does then. Why would that make it green? So what's the opposite? What's 3? Let's guess. This is white, so it's both. This is just green. Blue? Purple. Or a special color just for system printing kind of thing. Could be just values. Black, maybe. Purple. I said purple. No! I'm close, but not right. Okay. That makes no sense. That can't possibly be right. I'm going to find out. All right. Let it be blue or red. Red. I don't think we're doing anything of import if you wanted the truth. But it's fun to try, I guess. So if I change this to 1, that'll be blue, right? I think this is just the system stuff. I don't think this is really... Blue! Good. Alright, that's all well and good, but... 8 would be black then, right? I guess. I don't know what that first bit does. This was originally an F. Let's go 0. And that'll make it black so we can't see it. Luminescence the remaining bit then. One way to find out, right? I would make it, and that's make this an 8. Well, you just did that. That was a gray. Oh, yeah. It can only be a bit, so... Yeah, I guess we'll call it luminescence or something. Just starts as a base gray. Alright, that's all fine and dandy. What's the bit before it do, though? It's 0. Well, let's make it FF, see what happens. On DOS, there's bright versions of colors and red versions of colors, and not bright versions. Yeah, that could actually be it. One minute, let me just do this. Oops. Nothing. Alright, what's this 28 before it? Be 29, see what happens. What does that mean? That means I fucked with its state somehow. Font, I want you so bad. Hold on a minute. Let's look at another one. New game, right? Looks like it starts with 21, which is ASCII exclamation point. Look, they all do. Load game starts with that too. A2, A2, A4. Alright, I'm gonna try something here. I bet I know what this does. So this is gonna make load game highlighted instead of new game when I reload it. Or not. Or maybe A4. A4. Oh, yeah, I'm going to change that back. 21 is interesting. It's interesting that they all start with 21. I wonder. Hi, Liberator. Okay. Let's go back to our save state. See if that fixes that. Nah, it's already drawn. Wonder if 21 does it. Errant 21. Nah, 21 would just be regular hiragana of some kind. Huh! Ha! Shit, wait. Fucking insert mode. Hold on, I got you. Yeah! Ha ha ha! Look at that, double space type. Hold on, alright, how does it end, though? Oh, that's brilliant. And 0-0, of course. So, that's gonna really change how we write our reinserter. Not quite. Video. It's not a convenient right English control code. It's part of. Yeah! That's how we do. That's how you do it. All right. Half-wit fucking font. Plus, it's ASCII, so we can do all the punctuation we want. I mean, we're dealing with system fonts. There's just so like there's not super much we can do with it. Holy shit. I didn't expect to do this, honestly. Be careful. the... Oops, no, stop. Stop, slow down. And of course, old ROM hacker's trick. Or I should say a trick I did anyway, in police knots. And dress. Close. What would it be? Would it be 0A maybe, or 0D? Maybe 0D. Yeah, Troy. Yes, there is a way to figure out line breaks. There's a few ways to do line breaks. You can fake it by just like yeah, 0D works fine because that's an ASCII line break. Dude, I just want to take a fucking screen grab of that. EMP save. Double. This is so awesome. It's 0D and 0A. Oh, this is so cool. I mean, alright. I'm going to grant you still have things like this. But this looks so much better. Does the same font hack work for the character name? It does. It will. I'm saying that. I'm 99% sure it will. In fact, and even if it didn't, technically, of course... Watch this. Ah, shit. Flew too high on the wings of Icarus. You know what, fuck it. I did a lot tonight. We can do it. Mary had a little, when you started this ROM hack, worried about what you do if you ran out of space, quote unquote. Also, well, keep in mind too, we do know that BA26 closes a dialog box, and BA2345 starts a new one. Drastic already has that in his reinserter, but if we needed, we could actually increase the number of dialog boxes in the game. He actually did that too, as a thing of it. Ooh, Runch says, "Oh, you found the half print code, buddy boy." Whoops, how's it 21? Yes, Runch, I most certainly did. Oh, all right. pump now, shit. But I might call it because it is a little late. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Nah, I should go to bed. My kid's probably gonna wake up soon anyway at some point. Well, I am pretty happy about this. So before, when we were gonna go write a reinserter, we were gonna use the Shift.js from the game originally, and we'd run into a lot of issues with all this stuff. I don't know. Now we can just write it in straight ASCII, which means we can really take the text Oren Ronan has been doing and just supplant it right in there. Yeah. Wow, we can really just put the fucking English right in the game. Shit, man. We are going to run into some issues eventually. I know this isn't perfect, but... Whoo! God damn, I hated that font. I'm glad, too, we don't have to get into font writing routines. I like this a lot better. This is so... Yeah. Alright, I'm going to stop here, I think. For now. But thanks for watching. I hope you had fun. I know I had more than I thought I would. Take it easy, everybody.